This Zero Now program is brought to you with the support of our founding partners.
Nicholas Welch is going to be joining us from Kokomo. He'll be presenting an overview of their technology and offerings and what's on the horizon. Just want to let our participants know, if you have questions for Nick, please hit the Q&A button. You can type it in at any given time, and we'll, after his presentation, about 10 minutes, Nick, we'll take those questions, and then we'll move on to our next presenter. So we'll start with Nick. Mr. Welch, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Thank you for having us. And thanks, of course, to Zero Now for your mission of sharing ideas and driving innovation and looking to secure resources to help fund school safety. So I was thinking about how to, set the stage for what we're going to talk about. We're talking about a really heartbreaking issue, violent fatalities in schools. I felt like one of the more pernicious things about this issue is that the violence can just sort of blur together. So I was looking at the current statistics for this year. It's coming from Ed Week as of October 3rd. There's been 31 shootings on school grounds this year that have resulted in injury or death. 17 people killed, 12 of those were students, 5 employees or other adults, 36 people injured. The most recent incident was on September 29th. There was a 59-year-old man killed and 4 others who were injured at a school parking lot. It's just a sobering reminder of what we're trying to prevent, and what we have to mitigate, what we have to respond to, what we have to recover from. But prevention is something that I really wanted to talk about, as I'm coming here on behalf of Kokomo, because it's something that we're particularly passionate about. Our solution has a lot of capabilities across health, across safety, across operations that schools and businesses are using, but our core is violence prevention. So I am here representing Kokomo24. We are a modular software platform that schools use to manage health, safety, and operations. We're a growing company with a significant track record across Fortune 1000 companies, as well as some large public sector clients like the LA Unified School District and Chicago Public Schools. Like I said, school safety, student safety, it's the root of what we do. It's so important in today's climate. It's what superintendents are thinking about. It's what families are thinking about. And since 2018, when we began doing violence prevention software for the Los Angeles Unified School District, it's something that's been top of mind and something that we've been trying to constantly innovate on. So what I'm going to do first is just describe the company. I'm going to share my screen, give a brief overview. And then secondly, I'm going to be talking about some of the innovations, because I know that ties directly into part of Zero Now's core mission, and it ties into the conversation that we're all going to have today, which is about how do we innovate? How do we stay on the cutting edge of reacting to this public health and public safety crisis? So Kokomo24, we're a robust and easy to use health, safety, and wellness software platform. We help schools to better manage student safety and school safety. We've been trusted and proven by large districts and small districts alike. Our notion of being trusted and proven is because we've been able to serve the needs of the second largest school district in America since 2018. One thing that I think is unique about Kokomo24 is our idea that we're trying to move past the notion that schools have to stitch together a public safety strategy. And we want schools to innovate by adopting one holistic health and safety software platform that's going to be able to provide a wide range of strategic benefits, like addressing multiple critical strategic priorities at once, saving time and money, and consolidating the number of third-party vendors that school districts are required to use. We think it's really important in the current climate to provide value to administrators, to provide value to students and parents, to families, by allowing them access to multiple software solutions all under one roof, so that the data are talking to each other, so that the systems are unified, and that critical priorities like violence prevention and digitalization, they're happening under one roof. They're happening now in a modern way. To give a bit of a background about Kokomo, we're rooted in our partnership with the LA Unified School District. It's where our notion of being trusted and proven in the education space comes from. Our founder, he had 14 years of consulting experience. He was 8 years of a solutions architect at Microsoft Consulting Services. There he worked on the public safety team. He had the ability to see that a lot of the software solutions that public institutions, speaking of schools, speaking of police, speaking of fire, a lot of those solutions weren't quite up to the grade that the private sector had. The software solutions that the public sector had didn't match the enterprise grade solutions of the private sector. And so what we're trying to do at Kokomo is to bridge that gap, to allow public resources, to allow our schools to begin having violence prevention resources, software solutions that are enterprise grade. And what we've done is we've expanded our capabilities over time to help reflect that. Our core, our root is incident management. We think it's the bread and butter, because one of the biggest innovations that we can have nowadays is collecting data in a professionalized, normalized way so that it can be leveraged by institutions and it can be utilized by new and exciting resources like AI. So our incident management system is used by schools, it's used by private sector clients. It's currently in use at the Los Angeles Unified School District. It helps them track and manage student incidents. And since then, our platform has also adopted a lot of modular capabilities, communications management so that you can orchestrate workflows and keep all of your constituents in the loop. A public-facing side of our incident management, an anonymous reporting tip line, which LA has adopted, which private sector clients have adopted, and which schools across our country are adopting. There's actually a stat in the last 10 years, it's collected by the Department of Education, that the number of schools with a tip line has doubled. It doubled from 33% to 66%, most commonly adopted by high schools. Our platform also has a number of other exciting capabilities. We moved into student health. We moved into other aspects of student safety like emergency alert, and we moved into operations as well, trying to create a holistic experience so that schools can innovate by bringing more of their data under one roof and unified in one system. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can have more of a face-to-face conversation. And now that we talked about Kokomo's background and Kokomo's products, I want to talk about some of our innovations, because that's how we're going to react to the public health, public safety crisis that our schools are facing, is if we continue to innovate. So one of the things we did that we're really excited about, a top 5 school district that we work with, we introduced a pilot program with them to reimagine the way that they distribute safety alerts to their high-level staffers. So I think if we're talking about the phases of school safety, starting from prevention, going to response and mitigation, and then going to recovery, this applies to the response phase. Looking at how we can do digital transformation on our safety practices to reimagine how staff are alerted when some sort of safety incident occurs, whether it's, God forbid, that type of lone wolf mass shooting, or it's violence in the community, the sort of thing that happens very commonly on an everyday basis that staff need to be aware of, because they need to know that somebody either on school grounds or nearby in the community is perpetrating an act of violence, and you can go into lockdown. One of our other innovations that we're really excited about is our anonymous reporting tool, which is now getting a lot of usage by our flagship client, LAUSD. It's actually, when you look in their parent-student handbook, it's listed. And we think that's great. We think that one of the keys to enhancing violence prevention is to give people these resources so that they can report warning signs, so that they can begin to intake leakage. There's a Secret Service report which was conducted a couple years ago, which found that in 4 out of 5 school shootings, the shooter told somebody about their plans before they made their attack. And it's by reimagining the way, not just that we design the software, but then that we implement it, that we go out into communities and encourage them to use the kind of software tools that we're developing. That's how we'll make an impact. And that's one of the innovations that Kokomo24 has done. Our anonymous reporting tip line is mobile. It's a mobile app on the App Store, whereas some tip lines are still a call center that young people might not find as accessible because they're used to being digital natives. By redefining the way that we're not just creating these resources, but that we're framing them and making them accessible for communities to use, it's a major change in how we're going through violence prevention and how we're rethinking this.
Nick, if you wouldn't mind on that note, I mean, that's critical, and that's one of the core tenets of Zero Now is prevention, right? So how do we prevent an event from happening in the first place, right? And you mentioned the Secret Service report and leakage in the incidents of leakage, letting somebody know beforehand is just through the roof. And if we could prevent all those incidents, we don't really hear much about the events that have been averted because of intervention, because of information. So let me ask you from a technology perspective, Nick. So when a tip is submitted from the Kokomo app, where does that go? How does it get routed? Does it go into your incident management, or how, like, what happens after a tip is submitted?
Absolutely. Well, it's a great point first about how when things are effective, they don't get a lot of media coverage. And it creates this incentive that people think they don't need it. But it's so important to talk about why it's needed. So what you said, you're raising a great point. Once the community makes a report, it has to go somewhere that administrators or safety officials can use. And what we've done at Kokomo is we've created a dashboard. It's the sort of dashboard that you can put up in an EOC. Actually, in one of the top 5 school districts that we work with, they have 6 screens, and 2 of the screens are our dashboards. So a report is taken in, it's put in it to screen the time that the report was made, to help evaluate whether that threat is a blaring red light or whether that threat might be lower, so that school officials can actually react to it and actually use the product in their workflows the most effectively to help prevent an incident.
Well, that's great. That is so critical. And so you mentioned the data collection. How does that platform work, and does that tie into a threat assessment team in a district? What does that workflow look like?
Yeah, it absolutely can and should tie into a threat assessment team. And that's where, by working in a platform like ours, we can orchestrate those workflows so that incidents of certain natures can be routed to key teams, whether it's mental health professionals, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's school counselors. And talking about the database for a second, that's one of the things that makes our platform very robust. It was created by somebody who's been a database architect for 20 years. Like I said, our founder, he worked in public safety. And by storing your data in this professionalized, normalized way, you can orchestrate workflows. You can actually use AI on it so that you can start to see correlations and flag, hey, a student has committed 3 types of incidents, and that's correlated with this type of behavior. You should check it out. It's a really robust and modernized way to approach school safety.
That's great. So I want to remind our participants, we have just a couple more minutes with Nick. If you have questions, please hit the Q&A button and just enter that in. And so, Nick, so are you primarily focused in K through 12? Do you also higher education and other verticals?
We apply across, education. So that's K-12 and it's higher ed. From a technical level, one of our migration successes was in helping to, help the University of Michigan migrate a lot of its data right at the start of the pandemic, so that we could begin to, help them manage the health of their students during the pandemic and that health crisis. And health is actually something that at Kokomo we're really passionate about, because we look at educating a student, you have to nurture the whole student. And that ties into violence prevention, where you have to address the root causes. And so by offering students things like telehealth services, or by making sure that your school doesn't just have a robust security apparatus, but a robust health apparatus, you're going to be nurturing the whole student. You're going to be helping them, have a better life, and you're going to be addressing the root causes of violence.
No, that's absolutely critical. And that's, it's so important, and we always advocate for a holistic approach, right? There's not just one solution. And does your technology, do you work with other technology providers as part of an integrated solution? Because I know you have a very robust portfolio within the platform itself, but are there any third-party integrations that you work with?
Yeah, we are completely able to do third-party integrations. Sometimes we can do it, if a school says we're very beholden to this certain system, we're happy to look for ways to integrate. And like I said, our team is completely able, data migrations, constructing and utilizing APIs to merge databases together. It's something that we do because we recognize that in order to actually have a safety strategy that works, you have to be using the tools that you're comfortable with. And then what we would just say is we think that our modernized platform is one of the strongest solutions on the market.
Well, and because you have such a a full solution, what is the typical entry point for a school? Do they start with your tip platform, or do they start with the assessment platform, the assessment database, or the emergency communications? Or what does a typical customer look like, and what is their starting point with Kokomo 24/7?
My personal favorite of the modules is the tip line. I think it's a really exciting solution just on a personal level. But in terms of how customers begin utilizing our platform, it can range. I would say that the incident management is one of our core modules. You really have to, an organization, whether it's a school or some of the private sector clients we work with, they have to have an understanding of what's going on in their organization, and you have to be tracking that. You can send notifications, but oftentimes you're going to have to track the incidents that you were communicating about. And so then that will flow back to incident management.
Got it. No, that's great. So any final thoughts, comments that you would like to share with our participants, both live and on-demand access will be available shortly as well?
Yeah, I think it's a long road, but Zero Now has a great mission. More conversations like this are the way that we can collaborate. We can try to create technical solutions. We can try to create grassroots and direct action solutions, and we can try to work together to accomplish the noble goal of zero violent incidents in schools.
Sweet. Hey, thank you, Nick. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the time.
Talk to you soon. And okay, our next presenter is it's OOSTO, and Dennis Sweet, the head of public sector at OOSTO, will be presenting. Hey, Dennis, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Aura?
Good, doing just fine, thank you, and really excited to hear about your technology and sharing this with our participants, and hopefully providing some insights.
Yeah, I'll just take a second to introduce myself. My name's Dennis Sweet. I spent 20 years in law enforcement, and I was involved in a school shooting as a first responder, and that ignited my passion really to continue on with keeping from these violent acts from happening in schools. So thanks for having us on. OOSTO is passionate about this cause, and that's why we're here today, and that's why we're part of your organization. So I appreciate it. I will share my screen. I have a few presentations and a very short, like minute-and-a-half video that I want to share. That's a video of a superintendent from another district that went through a school shooting, and he uses our product. We think he's he's one of our best spokesmen, so I wanted to hear his words specifically. So hopefully you can see my screen. I think we're good to go.
Yeah, we're good.
Again, here's my my introduction. We're going to talk about OOSTO very quickly. We're going to tell you how we can help with schools, and then a quick Q&A. OOSTO is our vision AI company, and what we do is we provide real world, on the spot facial recognition that's real time. So we use existing cameras, existing infrastructure, and we connect our software, and all of the camera streams that are connected, we would detect a face. And we'll talk about who we want to detect. So we're simply face matching. You create a watch list, and we watch your streams for those folks. And there's two ways we can do that, and I'll talk about that in a second. Our what I want to talk about also is our algorithms. Our system was built to be in the wild, meaning it's on a surveillance platform. Some vision AI companies are built to be in a very static situation where, you know, the reference photo has to be very similar to the surveillance photo. We've solved that with our algorithms, and we can be in a you know, an environment that's completely from a surveillance platform, high angles, lower light situations, and we still have great detections. This is the video I'm talking about. If hopefully you can hear it. If not, somebody raise their hand and I'll go ahead and stop it.
Yeah, I don't think the audio is coming through, Dennis.
Okay.
It might be a setting.
Yeah, no worries. We'll go ahead and we'll go on to the next thing. This was Santa Fe School District. And after Santa Fe School District had a school shooting, we were able to help them and implement our product. They have a maybe on the afterwards we'll be able to attach this video to the presentation. Amazing spokesman for us, but he really touches on how we help keep the bad people out of their schools after, you know, a really bad situation. Essentially, he became a big proponent of us once he determined that he thought his video system was completely useless unless he started using AI. Video was used to do mop-up, figure out what happened. And, you know, we gave him the ability to go ahead and be proactive and find, you know, keep people out of school and figure out, you know, how to keep his school safer. So, and this is what we do. We turn your passive cameras into proactive security systems. You know, we have 3 different products: on watch, on access, and on patrol. On watch is what we've talked about, where we have a watch list and we're watching those cameras for everybody that's on that watch list. On access ties a face to access control. It could be, you know, more secure areas in your facilities that you want to only access with certain people. And then on patrol, we allow you to put the same product on body cameras or cell phones and move it away from those cameras. And this is how our algorithm works. We turn a face into a big string of numbers. And then all we do is compare that string of numbers that we've turned your face into a reference list of another big string of numbers. That's why it works so fast. We're not comparing a photo to a photo. We're turning everybody's face into a whole string of numbers that can't be reconstructed. For safety purposes, if somebody ends up with this whole string of numbers, there's no way that can be reconstructed and turned into a face again. We're completely offline at this point. All of our school districts that we have, which we have plenty, use us in an on-prem fashion. So all the data is on site, and you know, we don't reach out to any other databases or anything else. So it's very secure. So our traditional watch list is where we populate a watch list with people that have been trespassed, students that might be in mental health crisis, parents that could be problematic, ex-employees that could be problematic. And what we do is once somebody on the watch list crosses one of your camera streams, we would alert, and we integrate with all of your VMS systems. So if you have a command center with 10 screens up, we would alert when one of those people crosses the streams and bring the attention of the school security officer to that situation. We also do reverse watch listing. Reverse watch listing is where we have numerous schools that do this. Every single person that should be in that school is on the watch list. And that's important, because now we turn these cameras into watching for people that aren't on the watch list. So if somebody is in your facility that is not on the watch list, we would alert on that. So it turns it's really just the same principle, but we want to focus the school security officers' attention onto what's important, whether it be an unknown person or somebody that's known and should not be in your facility. And the key is we put these further out, maybe into parking lots or entranceways, so we can actually do something before this person gets into school. It's, one of our core tenets. We got to keep people out of schools that don't belong. So these are the use cases for traditional watch listing, and these are the sensitive zones, like I discussed earlier. Surveillance perspective is incredibly important. There's a lot of AI out there that doesn't work from a surveillance perspective. We have to work in a real world environment. Not everybody can put up all new cameras, all new surveillance systems to work with AI. So we work with your existing systems. We also track across cameras. So if we pick you up once, we're going to be able to track across all the other cameras and find somebody in the facility that you're intended to look for. We also do, I'm sorry, I missed video forensics. So even if you're not connected, if you have, 300 cameras in your facility and you have 10 connected to Vision AI, OOSTO, we might be in the entrance exits and maybe a couple intersections. All of the other cameras we would bring into our forensic tool, and you can search those camera streams for a face, someone of interest. So you can go back and determine where somebody was inside your facility without watching all that footage. Already talked about reverse watch listing, and this is what we do best. All of these examples in front of you are real live detections. The one on the left is, of course, he's part of his face is occluded, hair is changed, he's got a mustache. That's okay. We're looking at a lot of different things on the face, and we need about 1/3 of the face, whether it be top half, bottom half, profile. If we can get about 1/3 of the face, or we can go ahead and get a detection, which you can see in these other situations. Masks are okay, glasses are okay. Now, if you have, sunglasses, a mask, and a hood on, we're not going to get a detection. We need something on the face to make it happen. But you can see in these situations, even our, very famous person on the right here, the Fonz is much older in his reference photo, or in his detected photo, than he is on his reference photo. Age doesn't matter. And in that Santa Fe video, the superintendent entered the high school photo of a police officer, and he was 50 years old at the time. And we detected that police officer as he walked through the school during the demonstration, and that sold him immediately, because he looked way different in high school than he did at the current time. We'll go ahead and pass through these. I just want to talk about OnWatch very quickly, and I know Ari will probably have to move on. But we leverage your existing camera infrastructure. We're cost effective. We have a centralized intelligence dashboard where all of your data goes into a centralized place, even if you have multiple school districts. We have school districts that have the high school and elementary schools all connected, and you can have the watch list populated from a very centralized view. So, if somebody gets an alert that there's a mental health crisis, you can get that person entered, and they're detecting across all the school districts, all the school buildings at the same time. And then we have unlimited watch list size. It doesn't affect schools too much, but we do have some university partners that are pretty big. And to have a reverse watch listing environment in those situations, you have to have the ability to have large watch lists, and we're not limited by watch list size. On access is access control, and then inquiries are forensic tool, rapid forensic investigations, and we do face matching on any video. And that's essentially what I have for you today. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
No, that's great, Dennis. So my first question, so where does that watch list data come from? Is there some central repository that is managed by OOSTO? If there's like a watch list of like predators and things like that, where's that data come from?
Yeah, so no, we purposely stayed out of this. We help our customers build their own watch list. But there's a slippery slope when it comes to facial recognition companies managing watch lists and supplying that kind of data. You know, we purposely keep our hands off of that kind of data, but we can certainly help our customers build those databases. All we need to build a database is a reference photo. It can be from a piece of video, it can be from a yearbook, it can be from anything, but we don't need, it just has to have a unique identifier, whether it be a student name, student number, or suspect number one. It doesn't matter. We can populate those databases very quickly, and we can do mass imports into the watch list from any solution you may have as a student or visitor management type system.
No, that's an important point, and having the video analytics separate from the data source. And that was very interesting when you showed I think the superintendent. I mean, so how many detections can be done at once? If like you've got a crowd full of people, or you've got a school where you have 50 students all walking in simultaneously, are you able to detect 50 different faces in a few seconds?
Yes, we need less than we need a fraction of a second for a detection. So we're very quick, and we have a test where we had a video up on the New York Marathon, and it's 20-30 people across, and we were doing detection after detection after detection. And that's kind of the worst case scenario when you come to an entrance point. In any school environment, we can handle 4 or 5 people wide very easily. What I've noticed though is schools have become very good at managing entrance and exits, and we're usually dealing with 2 or 3 wide max coming into the schools now, which is it's a good security measure for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, having a single point of entry. And you mentioned that it's on-prem. Is there a cloud component, or is this 100% on-prem solution?
Yeah, so we also have a cloud component. Some of our universities and bigger schools are certainly adopting that. I think it's just a progression in tolerance for cloud, but we certainly have a cloud component, and we also offer other features once we get into the cloud, which are like running and fighting and falling detections, which are very important to the customer also.
No doubt. And so we have another couple minutes here. So you mentioned a very important point. I mean, turning a passive camera into an active security solution. Are there minimum requirements for the camera, or can you store it on any camera that the school has?
I mean, within reason. I haven't been to a school yet that's had a camera so old that we haven't been able to use it. If it's working, and we like to have about 40 megapixels by 40 megapixels to do a detection. It can be a little less than that or a little more than that for sure, but it certainly is the better the camera, the better results we're going to have. But we certainly don't need brand new state-of-the-art 4K cameras. We can live on any camera so far that we've been in front of.
And does a typical deployment cover all the cameras in a school campus, or are they like entryways? What is it? What would someone expect?
Yeah, it really depends on the use case, but no, most school districts don't put it on every single camera. They would do entrance, exits, maybe a spot out in a parking lot where they get a lot of traffic, so they can get alerts. The farther out the camera is, the more time they'll have before the person gets to the school. But most places at entrance, exits, out in the parking lot if possible, at the stadiums are becoming really, really important. A lot of these events that are happening, especially this year, are starting to happen at football stadiums and events, and these schools are canceling football events, which is incredibly sad. So we're able to extend our use to a lot of these outdoor facilities. And then intersections inside the school are also important, because we want to once the person is inside the school of interest, we can then track them inside the school and get security personnel to those people as quick as possible.
Exactly, and it goes back to the whole theme and mission of prevention, right? Getting ahead how quickly can we detect a threat and then automate the response to mitigate the scope of harm so nobody gets hurt. So that is absolutely critical.
Yeah, I'd like to share very quickly the school shooting that I was involved in, where I was a first responder. It took us a good 40 minutes to gain access to the video and replay what happened. And like was mentioned earlier, once we get technology to the right people at the right time and have it available to first responders, the better everything works. Having VMS on the superintendent's desk or the assistant principal's desk that they're the only person that has access to, that's challenging. We got to make sure these VMS systems are available and these video analytics are available to the people that can help.
Yeah, and on that note, Dennis, thank you very much. We're going to switch to our last presenter today, and but I just want to, while you're switching over, before I introduce you, Jason, thank you very much, Dennis. On that note, next Tuesday we are hosting our monthly conversation about coordinated emergency response for schools. And exactly to your point, how quickly can we get communications technology in the hand of first responders to identify where the threat is, location, as much intelligence as possible to prevent anyone from getting hurt. So that's next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Right here on Zero Now. We have our own channel, Bat channel. Well, thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And our last presenter, Chief Jason Friedberg. How's it going, Jason?
Outstanding, Ara. Thank you very much for having us today.
Awesome. Jason, if you wouldn't mind, so Jason's with Blue Line Solutions, formerly the chief over Bucknell University. If you wouldn't mind just kind of giving a quick background, and then I'll turn the floor over to you to share what you're doing at Blue Line and how you can help keep schools and students safe.
Absolutely. So about 22 years in campus and higher education, law enforcement, retired as a chief for Bucknell University, but I also worked as a consultant around the United States, including with you with VTV and some other nonprofit organizations throughout the years, trying to keep our kids safe. I have twins of my own that are now in college. So all of these things have really come home to roost, and the work that we do as an organization with Zero Now really helps set the stage for keeping our own children safe and their children. And I really love the idea of what we're doing here, and this innovation piece that we have created at Zero Now really helps drive that to all of the individual pieces, whether it's higher ed, lower ed. I could even see corporations, getting involved in this at some point to protect their campuses.
No doubt. No doubt. It's important work.
Yeah, so Blue Line Solutions has really picked up where I think Dennis and Nick are leaving off. So sort of these concentric circles as we move out from Nick and inside to Dennis to the outside to the parking lots. Well, we go one step further.
We plan it that way, Jason.
Yeah, I was thinking, man, this is brilliant.
Yes.
We've spent our lives working on keeping the kids safe inside, and what we've realized is that a lot of these deaths, over 100 deaths per year, over 25,000 critically injured and injured students walking and driving and biking to school every year, happen just outside those schools in the school zones. And that for us is something that we believe is preventable. The majority of the majority of the people in our company, all of our executive suite, and all of our field engineers and field representatives are all retired first line frontline agents. So we are police, fire, EMS, dispatch, and really what we're trying to do is create a new zone of safety around those schools by employing automated photo speed enforcement. Our police departments use this as a force multiplier when they can't have a cruiser out there or multiple cruisers at multiple schools. So we create a more level playing field for all the schools that are out there, especially for bigger cities. But what we're seeing, is only, even though we have less than half of the school students between middle school and high school that are out there, there's a quarter of them that make up sort of the population. Half of them are actually the ones that are injured and killed in school zones as they're going to school, and that's because they're distracted. They're distracted talking to their friends. They're distracted by this, looking at this the whole time that they're going. They're on their bikes and not paying attention. 80% of them have bad crossing street behaviors. And so because they're not watching out for themselves, because they're just living life the way that they should be, we're going to try to help insulate them from these life-changing incidents that happen there. So what Blue Line Solutions does, and I'm just going to go through a couple of quick slides, nothing really detailed, but we work with K through 12s around the country and help them to deploy these solutions in concert with their municipalities, whether that's a county or a city. We love working with the students and with the superintendents and the police departments that they service, because it takes a village to keep everybody safe. So what Blue Line Solutions does, and if you could see my screen.
Not yet. Not yet.
All right, hold on. Oh, share. Got to hit the share button. All right.
That would.
Good. So what Blue Line Solutions like to do is, well, let me start with this. So what's the first thing everybody thinks about when they think about automated photo speed, right? They think of the greed, they think of a cash grab. We are the exact opposite, because we're all frontline, because we've all picked up those students and those kids in school zones and along the highways. We are the exact opposite. Our business has about 300 years of law enforcement experience in it. We have 100 plus employees nationally with 13 years of business. So what we do is a little bit different, because we go in and we say, listen, there's no cost to you. We put this in for free. There's no upfront costs for the police department, for the school, for the town, for anybody. We take care of everything and then just pay for that out of all the violators that go through these things. So there's a number of ways that we can do this adoption. We get out in front of those schools, we do the presentations, we talk to them, we get with the PTAs, we talk with the school associations and get their buy-in to do these things. And one of the easiest ways we do that is our speed studies. So we actually go out, and for a week, we will provide data collection in your school zones during school times, because some of the companies just do it whenever they feel like. We do it during Monday through Friday when the schools are open, no holidays, no rain days, nothing like that. And we give you those speed studies. And what we'll do is we'll put them out there, and you get this comprehensive list of what those traffic look like of the speeding vehicles. How many are going through that school zone, how many are speeding, and what percentage that makes up of all of the things that we're doing. So those are interesting. So I'm just going to use Shreveport as our biggest, probably one of our bigger ones that we really like to talk about, because the reduction is so ridiculous. But we had over 400,000 cars go through, and of that, 210,000 were speeding. And for us, speeding is 10 miles an hour above. So that's at least 30 or 35, depending on the state that we're with for that. So that's a huge number, right? That's a huge number. So we share this with the parents. So we say, parents, do you have a problem? Are you concerned about this? And everyone goes, oh, heck yeah, this is a big issue. I didn't realize it was that bad. And so then we work with everybody else, putting these methodologies and technologies in place to make things work, right? We reach out and we do the click it or ticket model. And that's really how the company was founded. We do a speed study. We tell you what the problems are. Then we send that information out. We do these town councils, board of supervisors, school boards, and we say, here's the issues. What do you think should happen? And they say, we want this now. And we say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Our company, because our goal is to drive down the speeders, is we do 3 levels of enforcement. So we don't even write you a ticket until you hit that 4th piece. So first we tell you, hey, listen, there's going to be photos taken here. Then we go, you're into a school zone, it's 25 miles an hour. We do flashing, and we put up the times that school that school times that are flashing. And then we give you a radar feedback sign that says your speed is 52. Slow down, speed limit's 25. And then you get a ticket. So by the time they get that ticket, nobody has any sympathy for them. And they're very hard to deny. And so what we'll do is we come back after we do that initial deployment, and after we get those parents engaged, and we say, parents, thank you very much. Over the first 30 days during our warnings, you actually slowed down on an average 60 to 70% before the first ticket's even written. And that's a huge thing. And what we do there, because we do it consistent. And we don't come in and do one speed zone at the school that can afford it. We do them all. And Youngstown's a great example of that. Schools with small student populations or in rough socioeconomic areas, we are putting the same preventions in there as any other school zone. We use LiDAR, so it's very accurate. But here's where I wanted to sort of cut our teeth. Of just 25 random programs that we surveyed, from big to small, we had a 94% reduction overall in that. To look at that in a graph is this. So this takes speeding at 10 miles an hour and above. So if a student's hit at 45 miles an hour, they have a 1 in 10 chance of living. If a young kid, a teenager, 18 and under, gets hit at 20 miles an hour, they have a 9 in 10 chance of living. It's a complete reversal. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's the trend that you're seeing here, is dropping that that speed down gratuitously in a very short period of time. Within 30 days of us putting out information that it's going live, and then the first 30 days of enforcement, we're generally down about 94% of speeders. That is a huge impact on that safety of students across everything we do. And again, it's no cost. So it's almost a no-brainer, right? So, we're happy we're able to make this difference. We're able to make the impact on those students and everybody that is driving through that school zone. We get a lot of flack about, hey, I have 3 school zones to go through, and it takes me twice as long to get to school or work now. Well, leave earlier, leave a little bit more time, plan better, go a different way. And we actually have a precipitous drop, not only of those speeders, but people going through that school zone because they don't want to even risk it. And so we've modified behavior to create an even safer environment because they're not even in that school zone. So it's a huge boon to that. And at the end of the day, what we're striving for is zero crashes, zero injuries, and zero fatalities, because that's really the goal overall for that program. So it takes us about a few months to get things up and running. We'd love to come and talk to any of the schools that are out there. We work with most states. There's some states that have outlawed it. Texas, for some reason, has it outlawed. Mississippi, there's a few others that have photo speed outlawed, but we don't shoot from the front. We only shoot the rear, so we only get the plates. We don't capture any personally identifiable information. And we have all of the things in place that we think is right, because all of the people in our company have come from law enforcement and done this for many years.
And that's a great goal and a great mission, obviously. And so Jason, yeah, I think that's fantastic. Like, this is something that that we're not really talking about when it comes to school safety. The school zones and speeding and all that, but this is obviously a very real and important issue that has to be addressed. So who actually manages the system? Does the school district manage it? Is it the municipality? Is it the local sheriff? I mean, how does that all work?
Great question. It kind of depends on where you are. The majority of the states, the city or the county police or sheriff manage those systems. So they work in concert with it. But that public information and education, all those things that you see that we go out, those go through the school, because we need to be a part of your emergency notifications list, right? We want to be able to send these out and say, parents, thank you so much for slowing down. You've impacted this. You're 80% of you have now slowed down going through these school zones. Huge safety boost for your kids. And we also need to know when those schools are closed or dismissed early, or something's happening, so we don't get ourselves in trouble and ticket people that should be ticketed. But some jurisdictions in some states allow their school resource officers to do this. So Florida is a great example of that. Some really big school districts down there. Some school programs are bigger than most of the police departments, just because of the number of schools and police officers. So they're going to manage that. So it just depends on where you are. I would say that 95% of them are done by either the sheriff's office or the police department.
Got it. And so, one of the interesting things when you look at the technology, like how is it actually powered? Like, what is the installation of something like this? Is this like a major utility burden that has to be coordinated with the municipality? What does that look like?
So it depends. Our first line of deployment is actually solar. We like solar because we're off the grid. It's cleaner in theory, and it also allows us to get things up quicker and not have to trench and worry about a lot of things. If we can't do solar, we will do AC, but we have these big solar panels that go up, and they make it really easy for us to do these installations and do them remotely because they're all in one. So it's the camera, it's the modem, it's all of the information that needs to go up and out to our company to process these that make it easy. We can do power as well, AC power, but it's not something we generally do. And we also do trailers. But again, for schools and something we're trying to make a big impact, we want that to be a fixed solution from now to the end of time. We have a couple of agencies that have been doing this for over 10 years now.
And so obviously every school district has school zones and existing lights and signs and all that. Would this complement that? I mean, how do you address that?
Absolutely. So what you saw in that multiple warnings picture is we'll come in and actually do a study of all of your schools and say, hey, listen, these schools meet the current standards, these schools don't. We'll replace lights. We do all of that from top to bottom. So regardless of whether or not you have a standard in your school system, within the first year of you signing with us and starting the program, you're actually going to have a standard across all of your schools. So you'll have the same signs, the same lighting, the same the uniform hours, the displays, and all of that at no cost for the school district.
And one last question, because we're running out of time. Very, very interesting, and thanks to Jason, my next door neighbor is in I think second grade, third grade, and he had concerns about speeding and Jason, he had a bunch of ideas, and this is a concern. I mean, this is a concern of kids, of parents. I mean, of school districts. The question is, okay, so all right, what do we do? Because there's so many different priorities when it comes to funding, and this applies to all the presentations. That what is the cost? I mean, you had a slide there about cost, and I just wanted to touch upon that because I think that's an important factor.
Yeah, it's violator supported. There is absolutely zero cost. We actually have in our contract that we call it either cost neutral or zero balance billing, depending on the state. So yeah, we actually take all of the risk and all the costs associated with the program up front. And then we just take that as those violations come in. We take a small percentage, usually about a quarter, of the fines to pay off that infrastructure within the first 2 years or so.
Okay, no, that's important to know because I saw the slide, and I know that's an important factor.
And that's ongoing too. If they break everything, P&L, every year we re-up our education. So all of that's included. So they never pay a dime.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jason.
Thank you. It's awesome meeting you and having a discussion today. And thanks, Zero Now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thanks to all of our presenters today. I just want to remind everybody, I mentioned this earlier, but our next conversation is next Tuesday. It's collaborating for school emergency response. We've got some awesome panelists in this discussion. We've got Kirk Arthur, who's the Worldwide Government Solutions Director of Microsoft, Robert Muick from Montgomery College, and Jeff Kelly from Mutual Link. We were talking about how to pull everything together, like Dennis mentioned, and Nick and Jason. I mean, when something happens, how do we prevent harm if we can't prevent an incident from happening? So we're talking about coordinated response. Nick, thank you very much for joining us. Dennis, thank you very much. Jason, you as well. And we'll see you all next Tuesday. This will be available on a replay probably within the next week. And you can also watch the individual segments in the Zero Now community. So thank you all very much. Stay safe. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Stay safe.